Welcome back. Moving forward, in this lecture, I'm going to demonstrate how to go about creating your first project. Okay, so super exciting. We are going to move forward, use OpenShift Online, and then go ahead and create our first project. There's several ways we can go about doing this. We can first, of course, pick any one of these sample projects or sample repositories to create a project. Or if you have your own repository, you can create a project based on pulling from that repository. So instead of using the sample ones, right, we're going to use our own so that it's easier for you to actually do when we customize our projects, when we create our projects from scratch, and we build upon our own projects and not use the sample ones. In fact, I will leave the sample ones as practice for you guys. So as a practice, just scroll down, pick one of these projects like PHP, Perl, or any one of these. MongoDB is fine, and then practice with it. So in this lecture, I'm going to go ahead and, in fact, navigate first to the GitHub repository, my own GitHub repository, and then we'll take a look at some sample PHP projects or files, and we are going to then create the OpenShift Online project based from the GitHub repository. Perfect. So let me go ahead and first create a project, or before I actually create a project, right, we need the GitHub repository. If I were to pick any one of these that you see within the catalog on this page, then you could simply navigate directly to create project and then pick one of these. Okay, so let me first, in fact, navigate to GitHub. So here's the GitHub tab. I'm going to simply go to github.com, click on this, and this is going to log me into my own account. If you do not have a GitHub account, you can simply create a new account. It's a straightforward process, and of course, like always, it's your homework if you do not have your GitHub account. So if you're a developer and you're starting off as a developer, it's a great idea to in fact have your own GitHub account. Okay, all right, so once I'm logged in, I'm going to navigate to my repositories here. Let's see if I can pick any one of these. All right, so let's pick this simple PHP Hello World repository. So in this PHP Hello World, I have a couple of files. I have the README file, and then of course I have the index.php. So if I click on index.php, it gives me the actual code for this PHP file. Okay, so again, just straightforward, just so that you know that we can create our own repositories in GitHub, and then based on our own code, right? So this is not a repository. I'm going to call this a software app. This is our HTML page. This is our software. This is our web app, right? So you can simply code it up and then save it in your GitHub. So here it is. This is what it looks like. It's a simple PHP test. And then, of course, it's going to echo out or print out hello world once we actually execute it later on. All right, so once we have this repository set up, let's navigate back to, or before I actually do that, I'm going to go ahead and go back once and then clone, right? I'm going to simply clone and copy this URL. And this is what I'm going to be using when I create the first project in OpenShift. Okay, so I'm going to copy this URL, and then let's navigate back to OpenShift Web Console. Click on Create Project, and of course I need to give it a name. It has to be in lowercase, so I'm going to call it First PHP, and then display name. This is going to be First PHP Project. Of course, you can give a short description as well. I'm going to give the same description. Project from GitHub. Perfect. And click on Create. And this allows you to actually create a project and gives you a message that the project, First PHP Project, was successfully created. Great. So once we've created the project, let me navigate by clicking on the Set Home page under the account info. Let's click on Set Home page. and then click on choose overview page for the first PHP project, and then click save. So next time when I log in, it's just going to get me to that project. So it takes about a few seconds, by the way. It refreshes itself and then it brings up the first PHP project for you. So straightforward, nothing doing, it's just creating a new project, giving it a name, a description, and so forth. Of course, this project is empty, right? Even though we have copied the GitHub URL, we've not actually used that yet, right? So all we did was simply create a project, give it a name, give it a description. Now let me go ahead and open this project. So I'm going to click on PHP project, and this is going to actually take me to the first PHP project details. And on my left navigation pane, notice the overview. Then I have the applications tab here. Within applications tab, I can deploy stateful sets, pods, services, routes. I can also check up on builds, like builds, pipelines, images, resources, storage, monitoring, and catalog. So on my left navigation, I can choose any one of these options to start building my project. And currently, of course, my project is empty. There's nothing inside. On the top right side here on the menu, add to project, I can of course do the same options as I see on the left navigation pane. So browse catalog, deploy image, I can import the YAML file as well. Now, since if I were to, let's say, click on browse catalog, notice it brings me back to the same first page that you actually see, right? So it's the same catalog. You can pick up any one of these sample PHP projects and so on if you want to build your own. So I'm going to click on PHP because that's what I'm creating a project. However, the repository belongs to my own personal repository. I'm not going to pick the sample one, right? So I'm going to click on PHP, brings up the first page, and this is the PHP Builder version 7.1. And here's the sample repository. So if you're not sure, and this is your homework, right, that I assigned earlier, so you can click on sample repository. But I'm not going to click on sample because we already have highlighted or selected our own URL. We have our own GitHub repository on PHP page. So click next. I can select the version of PHP, whether it's 7.1, which is the latest version, 7.0, or 5.6. There are certain apps that are made in older PHP versions, so you want to make sure that you select the correct version. The application name itself, so I can say PHP or first PHP, and then the GitHub repository or the Git repository. If I'm not sure, again, I can click on sample, and it's going to pick up the sample repository, which is the cake PHP. But I'm not going to use that. I'm going to delete that, in fact, and then paste my own Git repository, right? And this is again coming from the GitHub account that I have. So once that's done, just click create, and this is going to create the first project successfully. I can click on continue to the project overview, or I can close this. So I'm going to click on continue to project overview, and now this is going to give me the details of the first PHP project. The good thing about OpenShift is that it gives me the URL, right? So this is the URL for this particular project. It gives me the name. If I scroll down, currently there are no deployments within this project, and then it kind of is refreshing the build, which is the first build, and shows me that it's pushing the images and so on. The port gives me the route information, and the pod is now kicking up itself, spinning up the pod, right? The image, build, source, and ports, everything on one page. And this is wonderful about OpenShift Online. As soon as the pod is ready, perfect. It shows me that it's now being configured and everything is good to go. On the top, notice the notifications area. It shows me the details that deployment created for the first PHP project. and we're good to go. If I were to click on, for instance, the URL, let me navigate and open it in new link, right? And there you have it. So you have your first PHP made just by a few clicks. It's really that simple and it's really that powerful. Now the challenge would come in later on once we actually do work with the command line interface, right? So you'll have to work with several commands, and I'm going to demonstrate that as well. But right now, just creating a new project from your own repository is just as simple as what you see on the screen. So hello world is now being displayed, coming directly from your own PHP file. So let's navigate back to the console here, and here's my pod. My build one is complete. So notice just took a few, less than a minute or so, right? And it built the entire project for you. You created the first project, and then you actually created your app inside that project. So practice with this. I hope this helps, and let's move to the next lesson.